All right, so we had our little 50 basis points Wednesday. The close was, you know, inconclusive. I always like to wait for the next day, Thursday close. That was for once not that conclusive itself. Even today, Friday close. I mean, the metals are strong. Gold's making new all-time highs non-stop. That's very much welcome news as long as the miners go up, which they have, but nowhere near as much as they should have. And they've just made 52-week highs. They've got even silver's performing well, to be honest. Silver's up 3, 4% some days. The equities, the general equities market, they've been going up more. They've been outperforming today, not so much, but it's just a slight disappointment in the miners. Now, I did sell on the pump part of Wednesday, so I don't want to overtrade this. I don't want to get stuck into the day to day and then sell more in the same general area. So I've done nothing today. Yesterday, I think it was very, very light stuff, but nothing. It's just stuff that I didn't get to complete on Wednesday in terms of selling. I would love to buy. There are some moments where I think, oh God, no, I should just buy back what I sold. Some moments, literally a couple of minutes later, I'm thinking, okay, no, this is going to go down now. So I'm just zooming out, keeping a long-term perspective, and basically not over trading, which is actually good advice to myself. So let's go through all the sectors. First of all, DXY, not too relevant the last 2, 3 days. It's basically holding its lows down here, 100.6-ish. So, I mean, if it bounces, I don't expect anything monumental. It'll probably hit resistance and come back down. I still think of flushes in the cards. US dollar, Japanese yen, that's actually already bounced quite a bit relative to the DXY. Maybe that's hit a bit of resistance, as you can see. So, I mean, that's even more of a reason to not expect too much more of a bounce in DXY because the dollar against Japanese yen, it's already done its bit. But that's also a bit of a Japanese yen, Bank of Japan related story there. But dollar doesn't matter too much. Now, general markets, they matter more because we obviously care about the miners quite a lot. Look, you got to respect those candles. It's clear what's happening here. You've got to break out, not the most thorough breakout, here completely close at low of day, but the next day it just gaps up with a doji. And today, what do we have? We have a retest of the breakout, and it's closed, kind of like a hammer. So normally, obviously, candlesticks, it's all about candlesticks. Normally, that suggests, okay, we've retested breakout, time to go back up. Today was a red day though for the S&P, so it's not the greatest day to confirm a breakout. Russell 2000 closed at low of day. It's all over the place. In fact, the Nasdaq, I don't even know about the Nasdaq. I was watching the S&P the whole day. Okay, that's decent. Retested the descending breakout, but not as strong as the S&P. I think Nasdaq is suffering because of Nvidia, and Nvidia does not look good. And you got to respect that because if Nvidia goes down and Nasdaq goes down, it drags down the S&P. Like Nvidia, nothing too crazy, but still close at low of day. Doesn't look like the S&P does it all the way up here. So once that flushes, and I still think of flushes in the cards, it could take down a lot of the market. So the point is, the markets, yeah, they were green, but not that, you know, reassuring. Bank stocks down. So let's look at yields. Yields, a bit like the dollar, bounce 30, 10, right? The two, yeah, very, very weak. That's where the Fed sort of follows that. So respect that too. That suggests weak bounce. Maybe when the 10 and the 30 have finished their bounce, then everyone flushes and the 2 year leads the way down, which suggests rate cuts, more rate cuts needed. There goes the DXY, which should help gold and silver. By the way, has anyone considered that gold and silver is just going up because of the Lebanese war? The whole Israel new front in the north just pounding Hezbollah. Obviously, they've performed their little pager and walkie-talkie explosives just to preempt the airstrikes that happened today. So you've got a new Lebanese war going on. So that's just escalation. Maybe that's why gold is up more than the miners, relatively speaking. Although even the last 2 days it wasn't that impressive. All right, let's look at gold and silver. So I mean, look at that. Just absolutely, just absolute runaway train. Took out 2000. Remember 2000? That was just a couple of months ago. Took it. Are we going to take it out? Is it finally going to? Yes, it did. And bam, now we're up just. So I don't even know percentage. We could find out, but it's just a huge breakout. Are we going to retest 2000? Never. So up we go. Look at this. ascending breakout. Look at this here. This was just a few days ago, 25.30. Bam, up we go. Not even a retest, just up we go even more today. Look at yesterday's candle, that Thursday candle. Very strong close, very big candle. Today, even better. 26.20. 26.20. We finally took out 26. We closed at 26.20. It's 1.3%. Anything near 1% is a big day. 1.3%. I mean, is that going to 3,000? Yeah, it is. And we haven't even flushed in the DXY. Imagine when we start flushing 99, the 2-year goes lower, the dollar starts to roll over, and we start to take out 99 in DXY. This is at 3,000, and they're doing rate cuts. So, I mean, good for us, but you'd expect the miners to be up more. Silver starting really has to take out 32.50, but that's what it's going to do. I do feel like copper was down, for example. I feel like the general economy is weak. It's getting more and more obvious. I mean, that's why they're cutting rates too. But silver, which a bit like Dr. Copper, will tend to go down, like commodities in general tend to go down as the economy softens. But I don't know. I think if gold's making these highs, you kind of got to drag it up. And that's what it's doing, new highs every day. Look at that. Look at those wicks up there. A very decent close. We finally really put in a bit of a, retest of this breakout here. And now, what's next? I mean, really, this is next, this 31.75. I'm just trying to be very, very precise here. And then after that, I don't think there's any reason. You're not going to take out 31.75 and then go test this here, 32.28. No, you're going to test the all-time high, 32.50. Those are the two levels. You want to hit that, hopefully close above it, next stop here. So it should do it. It should do it, especially if gold keeps going up. And that, whether it's the war front expanding, Russia constantly just winning, gaining ground. So you got that going on. And as they near the border, as they take more and more of Ukrainian territory and destroy the armed forces, you could have escalations there because we're far away from hitting a NATO border. But NATO only gets more and more desperate, and that can only lead to escalation, I reckon, unless Trump comes in and basically creates peace. But you've got sort of a couple of months before that. Israel expanding the war when their allies are weaker, when they can't fight on multiple fronts, when they haven't even beaten Hamas. That's not going to be good. I mean, they can perform their little airstrikes, but wait until a couple of weeks in, and I think you're going to start seeing some difficulty for them. So the point is, gold just on the geopolitical front can easily rise, and that's without considering the dollar going down, maybe even the market's going down. So gold, just blue skies constantly. Silver should end up going to 32.50 with gold going up. Next stop is really 26.50, then 2700. There are no charts here. There's nothing left. It's just a vacuum. Let's look at the miners. Now, miners, this candle here, remember the S&P? Same sort of thing. We've tested the break. These are horrible candles. I mean, very indecisive stuff, just all over the place. And me selling here and then 10 minutes later wanting to buy, which is really amateurish, to be honest. I understand because this is just chaos here. But the point is, I have sold. This is me talking to myself now. I have sold this area. I need to chill out. It's done. I can buy back if I really, really feel like it's inevitable it's going to go up. But it's not, despite what I've just said about gold going up, silver going up. If the markets crash, or for whatever reason, any of the reasons I listed, the miners could definitely go down with it. The miners are following the markets quite well here. As you can see from this candle here, we've got the same sort of candle as the S&P. Let's just bring it up one last time. It's the exact same candle, pretty much. So, and you know what? 2% up when gold's up 1.5% and silver is up, well, pretty much the same as gold, to be honest, which is a bit disappointing. But yesterday it did much better, and intraday it was doing better. But the miners are not that strong. SILJ, not that strong, less than GDXJ. That's not normal. And silver's pretty much up the same amount. GDX, same as GDXJ. SILJ is not creating the same candle. I mean, it's not all the way up here because silver hasn't made that 32.50. But the point is, A bit disappointing in the miners, and they've gone up a lot. Maybe they're tired, but they are underperforming, relatively speaking. Let's look at the actual miners in the portfolio. Newmont, can't complain too much, near its 55 resistance. Next stop will be all the way up here, gap fill. I kind of agree, but this is, yeah, 57.50, what you really want. Yeah, I mean, really, it's about closing above 55. After that, you're in no man's land. We haven't been trading above that for a long, long time. I guess 57.50 is a bit of a zone, but really you want 60 psychological, but it's not a technical level, actually. Yeah, 64. Let's close above 55, but next up 57.50-ish. Barrick Gold. That little chaos over here, it's stuck there. We really want that close above 20 of 21. A close above 21 would be great. Kind of stuck in this little zone. I'm gonna call it 21, the resistance. Need to close above 21 Barrick Gold. Yeah, on the way up. I'm covering the way up. The way down, that'll be for another video. I want to see a big red day before I start talking about on the way down, but obviously there are levels already here. Let me just add this little ascending. It might be used. That's too tight. That's too tight. It's working, but that's too tight. One down day and you close below 20, this whole thing is negated. So I'm not going to put this in. Agnico-Eagle, just like Newmont, just constantly popping its head above, the last high. So that's really good. 84, a close above 84, and we start moving to 88. I remember 88. Very nice all-time high sort of area. 88 to 90. Look at that. Zoom out, out, out. 88 to 90. Definitely 90. That would be great. Super strong stuff. And even on drops, it's always bought. So it's very nice. Pan American Silver. Yeah, that's because silver hasn't hit 32.50, but actually it should be a little higher. I feel like silver, it should be at 23 already. Clearly, resistance is 21, just below 22. Let's call it 21.90. Got to close above 21.90, but really what you want is 22. And then you zoom up to the next one, 23, and the next one, 24.30. Let's move that up, be very precise. So just horizontal levels to deal with there on the next pump. Yeah, I think the drop would take us there to 20.4, and then down here, maybe gap fill. And you got to consider the drop though, because I mean, that's why I sold. I just wasn't convinced. We've made massive moves. I really want to have a certain amount on the sidelines, like at least 40%, 30, maybe 30%, because my account is a new all-time highs as of today. And I just want to confirm, if I get a record amount on the sidelines in terms of dry powder, then I look forward to a drop, but I've still got a lot in. So if it keeps going up, I'm just happy either way. And that's just such a good position to be in. Then you don't take silly risks, you don't force trades, and just so many positives. Wheaton, a bit like Newmont and Agnico-Eagle, just hitting its old highs constantly. You want that close above 63.20, but probably 64 would be ideal. Basically hanging around at new all-time highs as usual. Can't disagree with that. I mean, gold hasn't made, oh no, gold has, the miners haven't made a real thunderous move. Given what gold's done just the last 2 days, it's disappointing. And maybe the markets, not just the miners, but general markets, just out of steam. And like I said, that's kind of why I sold, because it was a buy the rumor, sell the fact. Everyone knew that these cuts were coming in. It's the whole, look how much the markets have pumped the last months or year, just 1 year. Remember the bear market? I mean, what's changed? We're still in a bear economy. It's just the market's pumped because they were expecting the Fed to cut rates if things got bad, and they've finally cut rates, and now the market's just exhausted. So I really do feel like a drop is very likely, and that's why I sold. So, and with Wheaton doing this, whilst gold's going up, imagine gold goes down a bit, or imagine the market goes down. Of course, the miners will go down. You'll have one of those days where all of this portfolio is like -5, -7, -3, the big boys, -3, -4%, EXK -8%. And I want to have, because here we are doing 1%, 2%, ooh, on big days in gold and silver. That's why I trim, because I just feel like one of those days is coming, And then everyone freaks out, oh my God, we cut rates, and we just had a massive drop, and that's wiped out all the gains for the last 2, 3 weeks. And you could have one of those. And then after 2 days, you're at support on the S&P, and then people freak out. Nvidia starts to lose critical levels. And, I'm thinking about that whilst we're hovering sideways at all-time highs. Metalla, sorry, I always forget Franco Nevada. It's Franco Nevada next. That one did quite well, actually. Franco, which has been disappointing, not very disappointing, but just no major moves here. Close at high of day, you know. For Franco, that it's outperformed its royalty peers, relatively speaking. Close at high of day. Next up, really 130, a close above 130, which could happen on Monday. Even if the sector's red, it just feels like it's making up ground here. Then you can start looking into 140 territory, literally 140. You know what I mean? Here you got all the excuses, gold price, where the GDX is, 52-week high areas. So Franco Nevada could start making, just outperforming its peers, basically. And I feel like a 130 close is the first step into that direction. Already today was very good. Metalla doing okay, especially for Metalla. So it's been strong the last couple of weeks. Had this nice pump, encountered resistance at 330, still resistance at 330, haven't taken that out. But it'd be good to get above 330 on a close. And you know what? I'm going to move it up here now. 340, that last peak high from a couple of days ago. And then you got the all-important 350, because after 350, bam, now you hit full uncharted territory for a year or so. Right, now the silver stocks, which I had sold, and this is what I'm looking at when I say that I want to buy, and actually I want to sell. I've sold some silver stocks, not all of it. I never do that. Like, just to get this off my chest straight away, I'm not closing silver stocks unless I'm really unhappy with the silver stock. I think it's going to zero, or I just want to completely liquidate it to put the proceeds in a different one or buy a different stock. But first Majestic, Fortuna, CDE, XK, Magsil, maybe Magsil I get rid of, but I'm keeping those for years. I don't see silver unless silver hits 100 or something. I'm not planning on selling those at all. But I sold like a sixth, a tenth, depends, between that, of these stocks up here, and I'm not married to them, but here on this big, Wednesday, exactly. This is the day I sold them, and I sold them not at the low of day, but I don't know, halfway through. Some of them at the pump, not the peak of the pump, but let's say 3/4 of the way up. So I was quite happy with it. And here we are. Yeah, here we are, basically where I sold it. Some of them are higher than where I sold it. Some of them are a little lower. On average, it's pretty much where I sold it, right? Give or take 2%. And I'm just looking at this candle today. Okay, first Majestic looks strong. Why is it strong? It's usually really weak, right? Lower lows, lower highs. But then we came all the way down here, and they did a stock buyback or whatever program. So best news you can get at the absolute lows, with silver making highs, testing 52-week highs, gold making all new time highs. Of course, it's going to run. It ran, it hit this resistance, took out the descending, very strong, technically very strong fundamentally, silver, gold, but also from a business perspective, what they're doing. And now it's retesting. This really should keep going up. The only reason I see this going down is because the whole sector goes down. So this one, I didn't do any trade. I didn't chase it. I mean, it wouldn't really be a chase. It's like buying back where I sold it pretty much, but I still feel like I maybe should have bought back. But I just think silver has all the miners in general could have a big down day, and this would follow. Like it wants to go up naturally, but it would have to follow, down 3-4%, even 5 on a really horrible sector day. But otherwise, this honestly wants to go all the way up to 684, 690. It wants to go in this yellow area here. Look at that. Just fundamentally, technically, for sure for me. So it's very hard not to chase this, but anyway, that's what my core position's for. Right, Fortuna, not as strong, hasn't got that fundamental, like business bullish news behind it, but the sector's obviously good. So here's just sideways, and this one looks a bit weaker. If the sector goes red, this thing will flush down to 450. I can feel it. Flush down to 450, which I see as a level. Also descending retest level, and who knows if things get dramatic, it could all go all the way back down to low fours over here. So on the way up, you've got to take out this little area, and then you got 540, and then you got the gap fill, which would take a lot. That would take 3250 or even higher to I think 3250 or higher, just to fill the gap. So this one should encounter some strong resistance on the way up because it's just a bit weak. Next one is CDE, my absolute favorite. This one I also trimmed in this period on this Wednesday on the pump. I think it was 712. 712, 713. So, we're still underneath that. So I'm quite happy about that. But on any decent day, this immediately just goes above my sell area. So if silver start to go to 3250, forget it. This will be at 760 and just run like it always does. If we have a crash, it'll come down. It's something to buy. Probably it's $6 if you have a big flush. Maybe the gap fill. So this one I would definitely buy. It's also had good news, and it's just an absolute it's just a monster. On the way up, this is just always the best performing stock, generally speaking, of the silver speculators. So yeah, it could zoom up, and on any bad news, it'll go down, but it'll bounce strong. It's just had good news, and it's strong without the good news. So imagine that. Right, Hecla. Yeah, resistance $7, clearly big round number. Also touched it already. Also the old resistance. This one a bit like the strongest silver stocks. Hecla, CDE, First Majestic, no doubt. Why? Good news. It's had good news, just like CDE, just like First Majestic. Even though their chart patterns are different, these three are just killers. Silver's up 4 or 5%. These things will be up 8, 10%. Maybe more, depending on their chart. But this one here, it's got a crack 7. Then we go to 7. Let's see what that is. Is it 40? And why is that? Oh yeah, last high over there. Next one, 770. All right, let's focus on a $7 plus close. Then 740 should happen quite quickly. Again, it's just had good news. The chart looks great. Silver's great. Gold's great. End of story. On the way down, probably the old breakout 630. If we keep going lower, then this gap fill, I put it in the middle just to be roughly correct. Plus, it'll hit the ascending. So that's definitely something to consider over here and over here. I should have done this on the other ones too. Next one, EXK. Well, of course, we have to take out this little 380 zone, which has been clear resistance. And then after that, our hits all marked. Yeah, after that, 420. I don't see $4 as any sort of resistance. And then here, just as it is already noted. But this one, a bit like Fortuna, had bad news, no recent good news, just going up with the sector, and expect a lot of resistance on the way up. So here I would sell. It's not like First Majestic or CDE or Hecla where I see levels. Doesn't mean I'm going to sell there. But here, when something is weak and it's had bad news, the last news it's had is bad news. I can tell it's normal, it's going to encounter resistance. There, I'd be more inclined to sell for sure. It's more likely to hit that and just come back down. Now, if it goes back down straight away and never takes out 380, then support, it's already been there, 340. Yeah, 340 is a level, but I wouldn't buy there. I think it could go lower, such as low threes, probably hit the gap fill and the ascending. So around there, if it was to happen straight away. If it starts to lose that, then go on, let's do every level 280 and then the absolute low of 250. There you go. Those are all the levels I see, if you get what I mean. Let's just extend it so it makes sense. Okay, Mag Silver, it's all right. Took out the level, holding the highs, consolidating. That's actually quite good. Decent candle. Obviously, it should be doing a bit better on a day where silver's up like 1.5%. You'd expect Mag to be up at least 3 or 4, but there you go. They're all acting that way. So it's okay. It's still holding above its resistance. On the way up, actually, that's a good point. Where would it hit resistance next? Yeah, I agree. $16 and then $17 and then 18.50. Yeah, it's a long way until 20. It's probably better to just liquidate this and throw it into Hecla and CDE, you know. But actually, yeah, that's probably a good idea. On the way down, yes, this is a level that was kind of already been there. I guess 14 is a level, but I'm gonna leave this one in. You know what, I might just no, I'll leave it in. Actually, no, it's probably here, the last low, that Wednesday post-FOMC low of day close. Close below 13.90 and you start to probably flush a bit. I just don't know how much it will flush. It's not really got bad news recently. Depends if the market's really cascading down because it's just gone up so much. It's not necessarily really bad news. It's just a quick drop because everyone freaks out that they bought the top, let's say. So maybe that would be enough to take MAG all the way down to here, just 13-ish, just below 13. And then, yeah, after that, you would probably get a buy here at the last low. It would take a lot to get down there. It really would. I don't see that happening. Next one is Aris Mining. The sneaky one. Look at that. Close at high of day. Close above 5. Yes, that's pretty good. Next stop is to close above 520, which it could easily do. This is in breakout squeeze mode. It really is. It closed above 520. There's really nothing until six something, between 6 and I don't know, 6:10 and 6:26 or something. Probably do that just to be safe. Probably sell something at 5.99 just to say I've been here. So that's really in breakout mode. It just needs a volume to keep it going. But that candle's good, and obviously gold, silver, and good news. Generally speaking, good news, good management, good everything. So this little unknown gem should keep going up. It's actually one of the stocks I've made the most amount on in terms of P&L. This one, Agnico-Eagles, CDE. I was just looking at that before the video. So this one is made good money for me. And I don't see it stopping. In fact, I see it accelerating in terms of percentage gains now. Unless the whole sector flushes, it will have to come back down. At that rate, where's your support? It's hard to tell with something with very little liquidity. No, that doesn't work. I mean, generally 460 looks like a level. Then 420, then here. Wow. Maybe 380. I think I put a 4 because the psychological level, but actually, technically, it looks like 380. Something like this. I don't see us going below 420 for a while, though, so I'll leave it like that. Next, I am gold, very strong. Good news recently. If you notice, it's always the ones with good news that are just still strong. And I've learned that after years of trying to buy the most destroyed stock because it can go up all the way. In the end, they don't. They don't even go up on good days where the whole sector's up. So I'm very happy to, I am gold, Agnico-Eagle, Newmont, First Majestic, CDE, Hecla, stocks that have had good news recently, they go down the least and they go up the most on up and down days. So better off buying something that's just had good news, to be honest. So I'm gold, bam, all the way up. Touches 530. Why is that resistance? Because of this here. Look at that. It's so obvious, right? It's not obvious at the time, but it is now. For that reason, yeah, okay. So all the way up here, 530, retest. Don't even get back down to here. It's too strong. Bam, gap up straight away up there. And now this sideways action like everything. But look at this close. Best close, right? Biggest blue candle, highest close. Also tested the 560 high. If the sector obliges on Monday and everything's good and gold keeps creeping up, then off we go. We'll hopefully close about 560 by the end of the day, but otherwise $6 is the target. Quite clear. If we go down, remember it's very strong. If we go down, then the last well, actually, it's not even the last level, but it's kind of created a bit of a gap level at $5. I don't know if it's going to be before the window or at the close of the window, but let's call it $5. That's the level. This can move up to here because actually that's the level. If we start to close below 470, 469, then I don't think we're going to go to 460. That's only 10 cents. We're probably going to go all the way down here. So I'm just changing the levels a little bit. And I think that makes sense. And if we go lower than this, which will never happen, you would need an absolute disaster in the whole sector or the individual company for it to come back down and test this, but I'll leave it there anyway. Next one, B2 Gold. Wow. So today it's the best close in a long time. We've closed above the descending. We've again touched very, very strong resistance around 340. For me, it's between 337 and 340. And I think it's pretty clear that that's correct. And you can see why. It was the last high. It's also the descending resistance. So once we close above 340, hopefully above sort of 340, especially 350, but let's just say 340, and it is 342, higher than the high of days here. A close above 342. We should run towards 380. And that's all I have to say about that. After that, you've got the next high, could be 430. Go on, let's be conservative and call it 430. Imagine you're waiting at 440 and it goes to 429 and you've missed your sell. But I mean, you shouldn't really be too eager to sell this. It's on the cusp of an absolute breakout. So 440, 342, close above that, up we go. Now, on the way down, it takes a lot to bring this down, I reckon. Look at that higher lows on those dailies also. Yeah, the recent resistance should be support. So 317. After that, maybe there's still $3 area. You can see resistance there, also big round number. And then after that, breakout zone of 290. That's completely correct to me. The chart speaks for itself. Very strong stock. Also good news behind it, right? Deal with the Mali government. So expect continuation, expect a weak drop if we do drop. So, and a quick bounce back to new highs when we bounce after dropping, if we drop. Equinox. Now it's not higher than 650, you know, like many of them have made new 52-week highs, but fair enough, it's gone all the way up here with some difficult candles, which it's been a difficult week. It's just, yeah, but it has been relatively weak. I mean, look, today it's red on a day where gold's up 1.5%, which is a bit of a shame because Equinox I really like. I think it's usually quite strong. So I would have expected it to be up one of the most today, like up 3%. But it wasn't. I don't know if there's any news actually. But we can rearrange the candles. Resistance is it's really 640, which means this 650 is not really relevant. I'll leave it anyway, but for me, you close above 640, you're going to do more than test 650. So I could really get rid of 650, but I'll leave it. Now, resistance, you can see, sorry, support has been the retest of this descending. That's cool. If we go lower than 580, I'm going to leave that in because that's correct. It's before a gap. Then you got after the gap fill. Honestly, if we start to close below the descending, you're probably going to go a bit lower than encountering this horizontal. You'll probably close the gap. So let's leave this yellow at the gap close zone. And if we keep going lower than that, it's the last low, which is 520. I don't see us going lower than that. But otherwise, yeah, this is a level, that's a level. So I think everything here is correct, but it's a bit weak. I don't know if there's any news. By the way, if we do start to close above 640, imagine the whole sector's up, whatever. Obviously, 650 is irrelevant. Where do we go after that? 7, kind of. It's not really resistant. It's just a stop-off point. Yeah, that's more of a resistance, 750. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Right, SSRM. Now, this one is creeping up. New 52-week high close. Right, ever since the mudslide disaster, this is the highest close ever. We closed above $6. This one was screaming at me. I did trim, even though I was convinced that it was strong. I don't care. That's the strategy. Sell when you're not too sure, but recognize the relative strength. Now, honestly, for me, it's every 50 cent, 650, 7, 750, 8. Once you get to 8, that's quite a way. That's like 30% away or something. But once you get to 8, now you need to start maybe thinking about selling because you're starting to encounter the, the mudslide open, that's the opening of this red here. And it's very close to $8, 8.20 or something. So you might as well start selling at 7.99, and then I would close my position by 9.50. Doesn't mean this doesn't belong at $20, or I don't know the valuation. I don't care. It would encounter a lot of resistance if it goes all the way up to 10-ish. And I just feel like, okay, we're far from that. I don't even need to talk about it. But the proceeds, the money you have in SSRM, by the time it starts hitting all the way up here, you're better off in another miner. Like, this will encounter so much resistance once we're up here, between here and there, this entire area. You're gonna encounter so much resistance. You're better off just throwing into Pan America, CDE, Newmont. It's just gonna, they're gonna go down less and up more. But right now, it is one of the stronger stocks. I think technically it's probably the strongest stock, and just you can feel it. And it's long overdue, gold's at 26.20. I mean, I think SSRM belongs above 10 even after the mudslide. So it took a while for this technical game to play out, but now, I mean, look at it, and it really got you down here. It got me. I was thinking, oh my God, here we go, bracing for a big hit on the P&L, but it just returned. It was down, and then the market starts to go down, but still it holds. You could feel the strength, and then up it goes. I did little trades here and there. It's nice. Move the average lower or whatever. And then here, higher, low, and then it was here. Everything went up at this period, but it took out the descending, took out this horizontal, and it was, anyway, I mean, look at my videos. I address it in every video. Very, very strong. I don't even want to talk about support because I think this is the type of stock can go up on a red day the most. So yeah, every 50-cent increment should be a level. 657, 758. Always sell 1 cent below. Now, support-wise, this is your first support, 570. If it starts to go back down again, maybe the descending plays a role. Maybe. So close though. Maybe it's so close. Then you got the little gap fill zone. Whoops. And then there's no point in writing anything in, but it would be down here. If you've got an absolute drop, collapse everywhere. Maybe there. There you go. SBSW, finally, I'm so tired. I'm going to end it on SBSW, which has done all right, but now it's encountered resistance at the descending, right? It's popped its head above, but did it ever close? Actually did there, but it was on a red day. Not convincing. So for me, it's encountered resistance at the descending, and down we go. And that's probably because palladium has also encountered resistance. Ah, look at that, encountered this horizontal resistance around the same time. Makes sense. But palladium broke out of its own descending. Something I haven't covered too much of. What about platinum? That's a different story. But yeah, also resistance after the breakout. So some of these other metals have also made a nice move. And that's what SBSW is about. It's a multi-metal miner, let's say. All right, I'm absolutely exhausted. I hope that was of value. I need to answer some of your questions or comments in my last video, but I hope that wasn't too long. But you feel it too, right? We made new highs. Everything is awesome. Gold's new highs. Silver's about to follow any moment, but we've made a pretty big move, and the miners are, subdued. And don't you think they're a bit sensitive to the markets? I've already trimmed, so I don't care. I'm done. I've covered this area. If we start to make new highs, gold at 2,700, 2,750, GDXJ start moving up 10%, I'm happy. I'm making a lot of money. If we go down, I'm happy. I've sold this area. So I'm in that little invincible mode. But whatever happens, I'm going to have some regret. But that's how I know I'm well balanced in my portfolio. If we go up, I should have kept normal. If we go down, I should have sold more. I knew it was coming. Totally normal reactions. I want to be a bit more robotic and just live with it. And that's how I know I've got the right balance in my portfolio, because you're never going to be satisfied. All right. Have a good weekend, guys.